Please welcome AMD Corporate Vice President for Alliances, Roy Taylor.
You know, I come back and it just keeps getting bigger. Every time I come back, I think what the guys have done with VRLA is absolutely incredible. I'm super proud of our partnership with them, and we're going to continue going with it. We just really love these guys. Being impatient can be a bad thing. Lord knows I've got myself in trouble in the past with being impatient. But right now, I think we should all be impatient. Every one of us in this room should be impatient. VR is now, but it doesn't always feel like right now. We all know we've got more work to do, but I'm going to talk to you today about accelerating, bringing VR into a place where it's truly, truly an industry. $100 million, $1 trillion industry. So in trying to kind of understand why some things are taking so long, I went back and took a look at history, and I looked at the history of the film industry. And I discovered that Thomas Edison invented the kinetoscope in 1891, but yet it took 4 years until Louis Lumiere added a sewing machine sprocket and upgraded it, and we had the first projected content, the excitingly named Workers Leaving a Factory. And that was followed up by the equally exciting A Rough Day at Dover. It wasn't until 1897 that Charles Path was able to actually get investment from a bank into this fledgling industry. And with that money, he did the things that he did. And then it wasn't until 1902 that we got the first special effects with a trip to the moon. It took 11 years. So then I looked further on. The first movie director was Ferdinand Zecker. Paul Path recruited him. He hadn't done any directing before. Directing didn't exist. And then he produced the first 6-part series. We think House of Cards is a big series. The first series is actually all the way back then. And then it was The Great Robbery was the first elongated narrative. It took 10 minutes long. And then finally we had Nickelodeon, and then Nickelodeon went from 1 location to 5,000 locations in 12 months. But that whole period took 17 years. I'm not the youngest guy in the world. I don't want to wait 17 years. I'd like us to speed things up. Now, VR is shipping. HTC is shipping. Oculus is shipping. Sony will be shipping soon. VR-ready PCs are shipping. They're ready. So the headsets are here. Those guys have done their job, and I salute them and thank them from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for shipping. But here's the issue. John Petty is here today. John Petty has put together a forecast on numbers for headsets. His forecasts are that for tethered headsets, 750K this year and 2.7 million next year. Those numbers look entirely reasonable by themselves. I'm sure we're all excited to actually see this thing get going and see volumes shipped. But here is the challenge. AAA content. I'm going to give you 2 examples as represented by Battlefield 4 or by the movie Ghostbusters. Battlefield 4 cost approximately $100 million to make, and the game was sold for approximately $50 each. The running time for the single player is 120 minutes. Of course, yes, it's a multiplayer game, but the running time for the single player is about 120 minutes. They sold more than 10 million copies, and they made more than $500 million. It's a wonderful, fantastic game. The cost per minute on the single player, $830,000. Now let's look at Ghostbusters. Now look at a film. It cost $144 million to make, $16 a ticket, running time 108 minutes, $1.3 million to make. Here's the issue. If we want the kind of AAA content that's going to make us get up early before we go to work because we just can't wait to get in and play it, and if we want the kind of content that makes us take a day off work and call in sick, we've got to get those of you in the audience who are producers and directors and actors and actresses and games designers and developers, we've got to give you $1 million a minute. Now notice the size of the audience. The movie will be watched by approximately 2.5 million people. If it gets around $200 million, I think revenues right now are a little short of 170. 12.5 million people go and see the film. And then if you look at the game, more than 10 million users. Look at the size of those volumes. Now compare those to the forecast that John showed. We have to solve this problem. Unless we get mass audience, we don't get mass ticket sales. Unless we get mass ticket sales, you don't get to get $1 million of production value. So this is the problem we've got to solve. So my speech to you today is about that problem. It's about getting you $1 million. So I believe there's three things we've got to do. First of all, we've got to produce very, very good content tools at reasonable costs that help you produce the stories. The second thing we've got to do is we've got to help you directly. We've got to reach out as a community and embrace storytellers. Embrace those who want to create. I love what we just saw just now. It's another brilliant tool for storytellers. And then thirdly, and this is going to be the biggest part of what I'm going to share with you today, we have to solve the problem of giving more people more access. So let's talk about the VR content pipeline itself, because we spend a lot of time at AMD and the Radio Technologies Group thinking about that pipeline. Because since VR is new, the pipeline itself is new. The first thing we're thinking a lot about right now is 360 cameras. There is no common standard or agreed on standard for 360 cameras. We salute Nokia, we salute Jaunt, we salute GoPro and C360 Heroes, but there's not really an established standard. And the biggest challenge, of course, we have is video stitching. The second area we're looking at in terms of asset creation is renderers. Renderers, which were once almost the exclusive domain of the movie industry to create super high realistic images, are now used everywhere, in architecture, in consumer electronics, and increasingly also in games design, creating games assets, and also now for VR. And then thirdly, light fields. So we believe that light fields, the ability to capture our images so that we can be social but still look like us, have got a crucial part to play. And game engines, which were once used for games and then went to be used in previs, are going to be an essential part and allow us to interact with the content that we create. The tool chains are changing themselves. Adobe, Autodesk, the Foundry are all announcing new specialty products for VR. And the other interesting thing is the nature of the content creators. 18 months ago, I had never met Chris Edwards from the third floor, or Dan Gregoire from Halon, MataVR. The previs industry has wholeheartedly embraced VR, and we in turn, AMD, are wholeheartedly embracing them. And then finally, the platforms themselves. We are all familiar with consoles, and they're an important part they have to play in this industry which we love. We're all familiar with PCs, but I'm going to talk a little bit today about the importance of location-based VR. We're going to need tools, new tools, and that's going to bring around new companies. I'd like to bring your attention to Uncorporal. Their capture system allows us to take real-world actors and actresses and place them into VR environments. I'm pleased to tell you that we are partnering with Uncorporal. They're using our technologies, and we're doing everything we can to help them bring their product to market in the most spectacular fashion possible. We want wonderful actors and actresses to look their very, very best, and we want to be able to get them into VR. So we're very pleased with our partnership with them. But we figured we could do something more to AMD, at the Radio Technologies Group. So we took a look at the stitching issue. The need to put together high-resolution images and do it flawlessly. As you in the room who are creators know, at any moment that the user sees the stitch, you've lost the presence. He's looking at the stitch and he's not looking at what you wanted him to look at. So solving stitching is a really, really big deal. But the problem is, as fast as we can solve it, the camera manufacturers keep giving us more lenses and higher resolutions. So we're constantly trying to hit a moving target. So we have created Project Loom. Project Loom is real, and it's here. Mike Schmidt, one of our senior fellows, will be presenting on Project Loom here tomorrow at 1 o'clock. It is a real-time 360 stitching solution that gives you almost faultless, perfect stitching for up to 24 cameras at 4K. Now, inventing something and saying you've got it is one thing. Having the community use it, embrace it, and give you feedback is even better. So I'm pleased to tell you today that Radiant Technologies Group is partnering with Radiant Images to use our 360 stitching solution. And the very talented Lucas Wilson, one of the most wonderful 360 filmmakers I know, Lucas has announced that his next 2 projects will be using our stitching solution. So we're very pleased with that, and we encourage you all to embrace the stitching that we have. Now, I mentioned renderers. We saw that rendering is very, very expensive, and it's very time-consuming. Everybody wants the quality of the assets that good renderers can create, but it's not always possible to do that at a reasonable cost. So we invented our own renderer. It's called ProRender. It runs on a CPU, and it runs on a GPU. It runs on Intel CPUs. It will run on AMD CPUs. It runs on our GPUs, and yes, it runs on NVIDIA GPUs. Our renderer is going to be used by Autodesk with 3D Studio Max. It's going to be used in Rhino, Autodesk Maya, SolidWorks, and Blender. And I love the Blender community. You know, at my last speaking event, I said how much I love Blender. It got tweeted like crazy. I love Blender users. We have so many plans for you. And here locally, in Carlsbad, there's a local rendering company called RenderStorm. I'm pleased to tell you we are also partnering with RenderStorm to use our renderer together with their services. Now, how good is our renderer? It's no good just inventing a renderer. It has to be really, really good. Well, Blago Vestaskov from the Chaos Group did some testing. And he found that on our mainstream card, our renderer is 35% faster than on a similar solution with our competitor. And at denoising, we're actually 2 times faster than the Titan X. This render isn't just good, it has superb performance. Now, I'm talking to you about software. One of my favorite things about what we're doing in software is GPU open. We are giving all of our software, Liquid VR, everything that we do, available to you for free, with source code, without restriction. Now, the reason that we're doing that isn't just because we're jolly nice chaps, although we are. The reason we're doing that is I have in my mind content creators. And I have in my mind somebody who has a brilliant idea, but he can't afford a lawyer to sign agreement for source code. And he doesn't have the time, he just wants to get on. So we're always going to put all of our software available to you with source code without restriction this way. So that's from the software side. We also took a look at the data set issue. You know, the more cameras we give you and the higher resolution we give you, you just love that. So the problem is your data sets are becoming enormous. Really, really enormous. Far too big for any normal graphics frame buffer to be good enough. So we invented something called Radeon Pro SSG. It's a graphics card with solid-state memory. This solution will give you 1 terabyte of storage locally. What does that do? It turns out it does a lot. We demonstrated at SIGGRAPH just last week how we could produce 8K RAW at 93 frames a second using Radeon SSG. What's your reaction been? Overwhelmingly fantastic. And if you want to get access to this wonderful new technology, there's plenty of AMD people in the room, and we'd love to meet with you. And you can also go to radeon.com and register to get access to it. Now, we can create great software and we can create great hardware. But that doesn't work by itself unless you have partners and friends. And so I'm very pleased to tell you that we are collaborating on all of these new technologies with HP. And so I'd like you to welcome the first of 3 special guests and give a very warm welcome to the wonderfully named Rick Champagne from Hewlett-Packard.
Thank you, Roy. You know, and thank you for that history lesson earlier. In fact, HP has been in the media and entertainment industry for over 75 years. Not many people know this, but our very first customer was the Walt Disney Company when they bought an HP audio oscillator, which was used in the live production of Fantasia. So we're pretty proud of that. But we've been in the industry ever since, and HP Z workstations have been used in the production of thousands and thousands of feature films and AAA games. But VR is creating a whole new set of challenges for you and our customers. So we've been leading the way with the Radeon Technologies Group and creating buttery smooth VR experiences. HP Z workstations today have FirePro graphics in them, of course, and in the future we'll be bringing the Radeon Pro graphics to the world. So we're excited about that. We also have a series of consumer gaming products. So the HP Phoenix, for example, which is a low-cost entry into VR. So we have the hardware.
But we don't like wires.
But we don't like wires. The problem of the tether remains. And tripping over a cable while you're fully immersed is about as fun as kissing your brother, so forget that. So we've been looking to the future at mobile technologies for VR, and we have something very interesting to show you.
Can we show them?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yes, we have a great friend, a very talented actress, Christina DeRosa. Christina, why don't you come on and show everybody what we have here for you? Here it is.
So this is a live sample of the HP Omen X VR backpack for a completely untethered VR experience. So this is purpose-built hardware for VR. So it has all the ports for the HTC Vive and other headsets, of course. We have wireless display in case you want an external monitor. We have venting that comes out of the rear of the backpack and away from the body to keep you cool. High performance and hot swappable batteries so that you can stay immersed for as long as you like. So we're really excited by this. We do have this in the booth, so if you come by the HP Radeon booth, the 3 huge domes you'll see on the show floor, you'll be able to see the HP Omen X, and you'll also be able to see Android Jones doing some really awesome art and his Microdose VR project, and then we have Black Box TV, Full Dome Pro, who have helped us with that whole thing, and we have the world premiere of Weta Digital's the BFG Dream Cavern VR experience. Really excited about that, so come and see us down at the booth.
Right. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank
Christina,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Roy.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
very much.
Thanks, Christina.
So we have hardware, and we have software, and we have great partnerships like the one we have with HP. But I mentioned earlier about the content creators themselves, the storytellers, the dreamers, the ones who have the ideas. We are doing everything that we can at the Radeon Technology Group to support and to help you. We recently opened an office here in Hollywood at 6600 Sunset. We opened that office because we want to embrace the community and do everything we can to help you. I'd like to call out an example of some of the work that we're doing and to show you how we think the VR can develop. We're working with John McKins and Remington Scott, 2 incredibly talented storytellers whose credits include Lord of the Rings, Watchmen, and Superman Returns. Working with them is a joy. Every time they come into the office, we end up talking and sharing ideas. They're really, really wonderful. I'm pleased to tell you they are working with the Radeon Pro Duo, and they're going to use all of our technology to create some great stories. And here at the show, on the floor, they have 2 pieces of content I strongly encourage you to go and see. Grace is absolutely wonderful. And they have another piece called EKZ, which is absolutely, quite frankly, groundbreaking. And so I strongly encourage you to go and see the guys there. We love working with them. We're also working with Blackthorn Media. We're delighted with some of the content that they're creating. I like Spooky. Spooky in VR is a little controversial. Not everybody likes Spooky. Abbott's book is a gothic horror that recreates the experience of going into the catacombs connected with a wonderful narrative. Michael and the team are also great friends and also using our technologies to help create. We're also delighted to be working with Prologue Immersive, with Kim and her team. She has a terrific VR experience called Memos from Hell. Turns out the quality of souls is going downhill. And the devils aren't very happy about it, so they get together to discuss this. I strongly encourage you to meet with Kim, who's also using our technologies to develop. Now those pieces of content, by the way, we previously called them VRX. VR entertainment experiences. Well, we do listen to you, and some people said, Roy, we're not too keen on the X. It's got some connotations we don't like. So we are now calling VR entertainment experiences VRE. Here's the interesting thing about VRE, and one of the reasons why we love Hollywood. There are more than 160 pieces of VRE. Everything from The Martian, to The Walk, to Jurassic World. These are pieces of content that were produced to create a marketing attraction for traditional format. But we believe they've become a medium in their own right. But that's VRE and that's entertainment. I haven't talked about games, and I think it's time that we should. Until now, the games industry hasn't wholeheartedly embraced VR with AAA title content. But one studio has. And I am so proud of them, and I'm so delighted that they have the courage and the vision to embrace VR without waiting for a 10 million installed base. So with that, I'd like to invite on stage my second guest. Please give a very warm welcome, Chris Early, Vice President of VR at Ubisoft.
Thank you, man.
I'm going to give you the clicker so you can move to the content.
Perfect. Thanks, Roy. Ubisoft has long been a company that has leaned into new technologies. We look at it as an opportunity to bring new entertainment experiences to our players, whatever that technology might be, and now it's VR. It doesn't always work for us. In the past, we've had a few missteps, but we have been undaunted in that approach to new technologies. So today I want to talk about a few of the things we're doing. You might have heard Roy talk recently about Eagle Flight. What we did in our studios is we started not by saying we want a sports game and we want a flying game, we want a fighting game, but instead we looked at what is fun to do in VR. And a whole bunch of our creators went around and tried things, and some weren't so fun, and some were great. And this is one of those examples, the ability to fly over the skies of Paris with you and your friends, either by yourself in a solo challenge or flying multiplayer. Flying is fun. Flying is fun in VR. We also looked at great IP, and who doesn't want to be the starship commander of the Enterprise and be on the bridge and be able to work with your friends, because Star Trek is in fact a social co-op game where you and 4 of your friends together will command the Enterprise. No one of you can do it by yourselves. This is a great VR experience. In fact, it's being shown in the AMD or Radeon section today, and you can go by and check it out. We also looked at, on the social lines, Werewolves Within. Now, many of you have probably played the party game Werewolf or Mafia, where some of you are around the table, and some of you are hidden werewolves, and you're lying or persuading your friends that you're not the one. Well, this is doing just that in VR. And what VR lets us do is it brings in all the motion that humans do on a day-to-day basis, when you're communicating, your hands, your head, and that's how it works. You look really real in reality, and you're having fun playing the Werewolves game. Those are all 3 examples of products that we're launching this fall in the VR space that are specific VR titles. But what we're also doing is we're taking a look at our traditional titles, like Trackmania Turbo, and saying, how can we create a VR experience within that game as well? And so we'll be patching all of our editions of Trackmania Turbo with a special section that deals with VR and VR racing. So we think that from the content creation side, there's a lot that we can do to bring great experiences to our players. We're happy to lean in. We're happy to work with Radeon, where all these games work, and it helps us generate our content. And we think that whether it's brand new content or derivations of our existing content, there's a lot that's going to be fun to play.
Chris,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Executives like Chris that are willing to take a risk should be applauded, and they should be recognized for the visionaries they are. So I'm super pleased with what they're doing, so thank you. So let me move to the third part of the mission that we're on, and the biggest part of what I want to talk to you about today, which is making VR available to all. We have a mission to turn the thing that we love, virtual reality, and make it into a billion-dollar industry. But for that to happen, there's some things we have to do. The first thing we have to do is we've got to get the price down. The fact is that for the vast majority of people in the world today, a $1,000 PC is just expensive. It just is. We have to bring VR into a place where everybody can experience it. There are approximately 330 million enthusiast PC gamers in the world. This year, more than 3 billion people will go to the movies. If we get an audience of billions, every dream we have will come true. We recently launched a graphics card. This graphics card was expected to sell for $300 or so. This graphics card at $199. Why would you launch something for $199 when anybody would say, in terms of its performance, you could sell it for more? We did that because we realized the $1,200 graphics cards are great if you have $1,200. But there's not many people that do. And we know the graphics card is a key part of virtual reality. It's the essential component. So we launched a card for $199 that's recommended, endorsed by Oculus and HTC, and will run all VR. All VR you've seen here today, all VR you see on the floor, and all VR which is coming. And we did that because we want to change things. So, what does a $199 graphics card give you? It turns out it gives you something really special. This computer here from CyberPower PC sells on Amazon today for $719. We have a special offer for you, everybody here, for this weekend only. If you use the code CPAMD5, you will get a further 5% discount, making this the world's lowest cost VR desktop PC that will run all VR. That's here for you, and I want to say a big thank you. Can we give a round of applause to CyberPower and to Amazon for their help? Thank you. So bringing down the cost of a PC which will run VR is really key, really important. But I believe that even at that price, and even with the exciting content you're going to make, we need to do more. It's been a dream of mine for a while to see location-based VR come about, to give people the opportunity to try VR that either can't afford it or don't have the ability or the desire to put all the cables together. Location-based VR started out in the movie business. This is Paranormal Activity from the incredibly talented team of VR Works. They put together a VR experience of being in the house and they put it at 35 AMC locations. It was a smash hit success, and with good reason. It's a wonderful experience. Very, very terrifying, but wonderful experience. But here's the thing. The experience was free. It was a marketing piece. As long as you could get in the line, you could do it for free. It was funded from marketing. It's great. But I can't help but wonder if the team were given $10 million or $20 million to make it, what that would be like. Some friends of ours at the Advanced Imaging Society did some research. They asked users, if you were able to go to the movie theater lobby and you were able to try VR, would you be willing to pay? And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. Sleepy Hollow from Secret Location is a fantastic piece of content. It won an Emmy. The Walk from our friends at Create Agency is a tremendous, fantastic piece of VR. But again, they were funded by marketing budgets. I believe that if we give these talented teams production values nearer $1 million and less $10,000 a minute, they'll do some incredible stuff. Here is a vision for how this could work. Imagine that you go to see the main movie. And as you go to see the main movie, there is a connected narrative. There's a backstory or a side story. You pay a little extra, you see it before the movie or after the movie. And then when you watch the main movie, you're rewarded from having watched its connected narrative with some inside jokes or references. It will both work as a marketing piece for the movie itself, and it will give people and fans extra things to see. Well, here's the key thing. In China, it's already happening. I go to China regularly, and I was just there a few weeks ago, and I met the fantastic company called 87870. I was going to try and say it in Mandarin, but I just realized it wouldn't come to me, so I'm not going to bother. The second company is VRLA. Now, here's the interesting thing about China. These experiences are in thousands of locations already. They're not waiting. So I think we have an opportunity to do that here. So I did a couple of models for you. If we had 600 pods in 100 theaters running 10 hours a day with 5 experiences per hour, 7 days a week, that would produce around $100 million of revenue. If we got that to 500 theaters, 485 theaters, 3,600 pods, that would create a $600 million revenue industry. And you can imagine, there are, I think, 40,000 theaters in North America alone. If we got these kinds of experiences in that many theaters, and we sold tickets for between $5 and $10, ladies and gentlemen, we just created a billion-dollar industry. So I think that this is a very, very exciting opportunity for us. So I'm very, very excited to be able to show you something really special today. And before I unveil it to you, I'd like to welcome on stage Jim Stewartson from a company called Awesome Rocket Ship. Please guys, warm welcome. I'm so excited about this.
Good morning, everybody. First, I wanted to thank Roy and the team at AMD. If you guys are doing something cool in VR and you don't know Roy and AMD, you should really fix that because they're awesome. So my first VR startup was in 1995, so that will tell you 2 things. One, I'm pretty damn old, so let's get that on the table. But secondly, I've already seen how incredibly difficult it is to introduce a consumer behavior as revolutionary as VR. And even 21 years later, we still have a lot of work to do with cost, form factor, consumer awareness. Obviously, this puts a lot of pressure on content creators and everyone else in the VR ecosystem because you guys need distribution and revenue sooner rather than later. Awesome Rocket Ship was founded to help with this problem. Our company motto is, we bring VR to you. And what that means is that we're building a VR distribution network in the places that people already are. So movie theaters, as Roy was saying, thousands of movie theaters around the world, but also shopping malls, museums, retail establishment. Our business model is really simple. We provide what we call VR gateways to locations around the world. We sell tickets, as Roy was describing, to the world's best VR content, and then we share revenue with venues and content providers. which all leads to the question of what the hell is a VR gateway? Thank you to the team at VRLA for allowing us to bring one.
Shall we show them?
For you to see. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to unveil to you the world's first North American-based location VR pod for VR. Woo! We are so proud and so delighted to be working with the team at Awesome Rocket Ship. I cannot wait to see this in theater lobbies, shopping malls, and anywhere that people get together. I'm so proud and delighted to be your partner. Jim, thank you.
Thank you so much, Roy.
Thank you. To celebrate VR in the movies, the Advanced Imaging Society Virtual Reality Committee is putting an event on October the 13th and 14th at the Paramount lot. I encourage all of you that love our industry and love VR in the movies to come along to the event. So, I like to give things away. So to sum up, we have to create great tools, we have to work with great partners and support the content industry. But I want to finish by doing what I always do, which is to give away a wonderful PC. So the CyberPower PC I mentioned, we have not just one here today, but can we bring them on? I got 5 here today. I'd like to give you 500 one day, but we have 5. Thank you, guys. This is not one of those prize things we have to wait 2 weeks. You're going to take them away right now. So if you'd like to look under your chair, 5 of you have the Willy Wonka chocolate ticket win. That is not a ticket. Who has a ticket? All right, guys, if you are at the end, we're just about to wrap up. You can come and collect your prizes. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make VR a billion-dollar industry. Thank you. Thanks.